Good to see everybody. It's been a while, and good to see everybody in action. And so the question I always get is, what is the difference between a QCT versus the other ODMs, since we're in that space? And how do we compare to the OEMs, right? So all the brands that you guys are very familiar with. And my answer is, in the typical OEM world, really, a lot of the core competence is no longer around heat dissipation or hardware or manufacturing or even supply chain management like we have been witnessing, right? And so when we compare ourselves to the OEMs, we still control a lot of the supply chain, the component, the optimization. I think a speaker earlier this morning mentioned around OpEx being the largest spend in any telecom network. And so if you take that view into, the infrastructure and the OpEx is the biggest spend, how do you optimize everything down to power? Those are the type of conversations and the kind of issues we can help. So if we think about the cloud service providers and the telcos of the world as sort of the only entities in the markets that is buying infrastructure at scale, that is sort of the key market segment we're going into. We do have an integrated hardware portfolio. So when you take a look at our core competitive advantage, when we compare ourselves to the other ODMs, we are probably the only ODM that, number one, understands software, and number two, have a complete portfolio in addressing all of our customers' needs. Our product offering is really around switch, storage, server, and then integrate that into a full rack. We're a massively scaled company, and we deliver the world's most reliable, highly scalable infrastructure to some of the world's largest companies. And number two, how are we able to win the cloud space? And we're able to win the cloud space because of everything I said earlier, right? We're able to deploy our supply chain. We are able to do systems design. We are able to optimize your application, your workload, and we are an open platform company. And last but not least is, what is our view on sort of the telco space? And certainly our view inside telco is, telco, just like some of the cloud service providers we've been able to help and grow with over the last decade, you are buying and building massive infrastructure. We are all part of this globalization of building the next generation network, and this is why we think we are your best partner to deliver this software-defined infrastructure.
So QCTs, we focus on the server business, and our customer include the biggest e-commerce company and the biggest search engine company, and also the biggest social media company in the world. We became the believers of the software-defined everything and devote ourselves as an infrastructure solution provider and to work with the tier ones, software partners such as VMware, Wind River, Microsoft, Red Hat, etc. There is a lot of potential of the 5G because it is a service-based architecture, and communication is no longer for the communication. We can also, based on the service requirement, to design the best fit solutions for the enterprise customer. So in the hardware parts, we designed and manufacturing in Taiwan, including server, switch, front-hole gateway, and also the radio unit, which is the indoor picocell type. And in the software parts, we also designed a standalone 5G core and 5G new radios, and all the software is compliant with the 3GPP release 15. There are three main factors need to be seriously considered when implementing the 5Gs into the manufacturing side. One is the bandwidth flexibilities. Our customer require more uplink, downlink configurations based on their various applications from the manufacturing operation. Second will be the quality and reliability of the communications need to be maintained and monitored at a standard level. That way, if something happens, a personnel can be alerted and also deal with the urgencies in a timely fashion. And the third one is the data and the informations can be controlled independently and for high level of securities.
I think private 5G, enterprise 5G is really going to be a key point in the fact that 5G is actually empowering a lot of the cities and others to be neutral hosts. And I think that's going to be a really key market for us. A lot of the neutral hosting capabilities will be distributed to cities, smart cities, where they'll be able to have multi-host situations and smart poles, and also do other applications with those poles, supporting either law enforcement or whoever's connected locally based on advertisement, location, all sorts of things. Whoever runs and owns that data is going to be king. Do I think O-RAN will take off in the U.S.? Absolutely. And I think we'll probably see it start with the smaller carriers first, because they have less of a burden behind them to actually make that sort of evolutionary change to a fully automated, fully open network.
Meaning, I think if you look at every generation of sort of mobile networks, right? I think 1G to 4G, where essentially what we've built is the end user is a human network, right? So we used to make calls based on location, that was with people, and then 2G and then into 3G voice over IP on the 4G side. But all of this is accelerating downlinks, and your assumption is the end user is a human being, and you're probably consuming data and voice over an end device like a cell phone. I think the interesting inflection point we're all at here is with 5G, you really start to get to the device, and devices are not communicating to each other as burdensome as human language. Right? So how do you have a lightweight script that is doing more uplinks versus downlinks on a IoT and a device management standpoint? I think that in itself, you could say now if I shift the end user, we know there's a lot more connected devices on this planet than human beings.